I was in the kitchen when I heard her phone buzz on the couch. Once, twice, 3 times in a row. Emily had gone to the bathroom. She'd left her purse open, the phone half buried between the cushions. The screen lit up. I'm not the kind of person who snoops. I swear I'm not. But there it was, a notification right in front of my eyes. And the name was her friend, Megan. Confirmed for Thursday, 2 p.m. Dr. Maurice already signed everything. My stomach dropped. I grabbed the phone. My hands were shaking. I opened the conversation, and I read everything. Every word was a stab, every message a punch to the chest. The old lady's losing it more and more, Em. Yesterday, she left a pan on the stove again. I know, Meg. Mike's already convinced. We just need to sign the papers. And the money? $280,000 from the house plus $47,000 from her retirement account. $327,000 total. More than enough for the gourmet coffee shop. Now that's what I'm talking about. I've always said you're too smart for your own good. I sat down on the couch. Or maybe I fell. I'm not sure. My legs couldn't hold me anymore. I kept reading. There was more. A lot more. Plans, dates, times, the name of a psychiatrist I'd never heard of, a private clinic, pre-filled documents, involuntary commitment. Thursday, 3 days from now. Emily came back from the bathroom humming some tune. I dropped the phone right where it had been and stood up, went to the sink, pretended to wash a cup. She grabbed her purse, flipped her hair to the side, and smiled at me. "Are you okay, Carol? You look pale." Carol. That's what she called me. Never mother-in-law. Said it sounded more affectionate. Affectionate. "I'm fine, dear. Just a bit tired. You need to rest more, okay? Mike and I are worried about you." Worried. She left half an hour later. Waved, blew a kiss, said she'd come back the next day to take me grocery shopping. When the door closed, I went back to the couch and just sat there, staring at the wall. My name is Carol. I'm 67 years old. I'm retired, worked 40 years as an office clerk. I wake up early, take my walks, keep my house clean, pay my bills on time. I've lived alone since my husband, Walter, passed away. It's been 2 years now. I raised my son, Mike, on my own. Walter was a good man, but he drank. A lot. Died young. Liver failure. Mike was 7. I worked 2 jobs, sometimes 3, weekends, holidays. It didn't matter. Mike went to a private school, went to college, got a good job. He's a store manager, makes good money. I bought this house with my sweat. Every brick was paid for with pennies I saved one by one. It's worth around $280,000. It's not a mansion, but it's mine. And now my daughter-in-law wants to take it from me. She wants to lock me up in some psychiatric facility, tell the world I'm crazy, that I can't take care of myself anymore. She wants my money, my house, my freedom. And my son, my Mike? He knows. He's in on it. Mike's already convinced. I sat there until it got dark. Didn't even turn on the lights. Just sat, thinking, feeling that pain in my chest that wasn't physical. It was worse. But you know what's funny? What my dear daughter-in-law didn't know. 67 years of life have taught me a few things, and one of them is that I am not weak. Never have been. I worked 15 years at the county courthouse, learned a lot there, met people, important people. Emily thinks I'm just an old lady who forgets pans on the stove. She has no idea who I really am, or what I'm capable of when someone tries to destroy me. I got up from the couch, turned on the light. Went to my bedroom, opened the desk drawer, took out my old paper phone book, looked for a name, Sarah Adams, criminal attorney, my friend for 25 years. I looked at the phone on my nightstand. Thursday, 2 p.m. Today was Monday. I had 3 days. 3 days to turn this game around. I picked up the phone and dialed. Sarah answered on the second ring. Her voice was steady, the way it's always been. Carol, everything okay? It's late, honey. I glanced at the clock. 10:15 p.m. Sarah, I need you. I really need you. She didn't hesitate for even a second. I'll be there tomorrow morning. 7 sharp. Have the coffee ready. I hung up and took a deep breath. For the first time since reading those messages, I felt like I had a chance. A small one, but enough. That night, I didn't sleep. I kept going over everything in my head, trying to understand how I'd gotten here. And the answer was clear as day. 6 months ago. The day of Mike and Emily's wedding. I should have seen it back then. I should have. But I was so happy to see my son getting married. So happy to think he wouldn't be alone. That he'd have someone to love him, to take care of him. I was blind. Or maybe I just didn't want to see. The wedding was simple. A small venue downtown. White and gold decorations. Emily insisted she wanted something intimate and authentic. I thought it was beautiful. I thought she was different, Someone who didn't care about showing off. Who understood that what mattered was love. I paid $15,000 for the reception. Mike had asked, said his paycheck was late, that Emily was stressed, that it was just a loan. Mom, I'll pay you back, I promise. I didn't even think twice. It was my son's wedding, my only son. Of course I'd help. Emily was beautiful, very beautiful. Long, straight, blonde hair, always well-dressed, nails done, designer clothes. She had a big Instagram following, about 180,000 people. Posted photos at fancy restaurants, gyms, trips. Said she was a digital influencer, worked with collabs and sponsored posts. I didn't really understand what that meant, but Mike said she made good money from it, that she was an entrepreneur, that she had a future. At the wedding, her friends were there, Megan and Brenda, both just like her. Pretty, young, always laughing loud, taking pictures of everything. They stuck to Emily the whole time. Adjusting her dress, fixing her veil, holding her bouquet. I tried to get close a few times, wanted to talk to my daughter-in-law, tell her I was happy, that I loved her like a daughter. But every time I approached, they kind of closed their little circle, laughed at something I didn't get. I smiled and stood there outside, pretending it didn't bother me. After the party, they went on their honeymoon, 5 days in Hawaii. When they came back, Mike called me. Mom, we need to talk. I went to their place the next day. They lived in a small, rented apartment, 2 bedrooms, about $2,500 a month. Emily complained all the time, said the building was old, the neighbors were noisy, that there was no covered parking. We sat in the living room. Mike looked nervous, fidgeting with his hands, staring at the floor. Emily was the one who spoke. Carol, we've been thinking. We want to buy a place, our own home, to start our family the right way. I smiled. Of course. It made sense. That's wonderful, dear. You both deserve it, she continued. But we don't have enough for the down payment, and Mike can't get approved for a loan because of his credit score. Bad credit. I didn't know that. Looked at Mike. He wouldn't look back. So we were wondering if you could help us out. Put the apartment in your name. Finance it for us. We'll make the payments, obviously. You'd just be signing the papers. I stayed quiet for a few seconds. It was a lot of money. A big responsibility. But it was for my son, for my Mike. How much is it? $320,000. But we got a deal. With $50,000 down, we'd finance $270,000 over 8 years. $50,000. That was nearly all my savings. But I thought, he's my son. He's everything I have. If I don't help him, who will? 10 days later, I was at the bank, signing papers, paying the down payment, putting the apartment under my name. With their promise to make the monthly payments, $200 a month, for 8 years. Emily hugged me that day, even cried. Carol, you have no idea what this means to us. You're an angel, a real angel. Mike kissed me on the cheek. Thanks, Mom. You won't regret it. But I did. 3 months later, the first payment was late. Mom, just this month, we had some unexpected expenses. Then it was late again, and again. By the 4th month, I took over the payments, paid everything myself. Found $200 every month out of my retirement check. But I didn't complain. I didn't want to be the nagging mother-in-law, the mom who nags, who keeps reminding people of what she's done. That's when Emily started, slowly, subtly, small comments. Carol, you forgot we already talked about this. I was sure we hadn't, but she insisted. You're just tired. That's normal at your age. At your age. She said that all the time. Mike started saying it too. Mom, you really have been forgetful lately. No. I wasn't. But they said it so many times, so often, that I started doubting myself, and it kept getting worse. These last 4 months, things got really bad. Emily started making things up, situations, episodes I supposedly caused. Carol, you left the stove on and went out yesterday. When I got here, the place was full of smoke. The house could have caught fire. I hadn't left the stove on. I know I hadn't. But she told Mike, and he believed her. Mom, that's serious. You need to be more careful. I tried to explain, to tell him it wasn't true, but he was already on her side, always on her side. Then came the medicine story. I take 3 pills a day, blood pressure, cholesterol, and 1 for my stomach. Been taking them for years. Know the dose, the schedule, everything. Emily showed up one afternoon, went through my medicine cabinet, said she was organizing it for me, that I was taking them wrong. You're mixing them up, Carol. Look, this one's for the morning, not at night. I wasn't mixing anything up, but she took pictures, sent them to Mike. See, babe, your mom can't even take her meds properly. He called me that night, his voice full of worry, almost annoyed. Mom, Emily showed me the photos. You need help. We can't just leave you alone like this. Then there was the grocery story. I've always done my shopping alone. Go to the store every Tuesday, have my list, know exactly what I need. But Emily started insisting on coming with me. Let me help you, Carol. Your eyesight isn't so good. The other day you grabbed salt thinking it was sugar. A lie, a complete lie. But she repeated it in front of Mike, her friends, even the building's doorman. Poor Carol, she's getting so confused. And people believed it, looked at me with pity, with that poor old lady look. The worst part was when Mike asked to borrow money, $12,000. He said it was for an investment, that a friend had a sure thing, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Mom, I'll pay you back in 3 months, with interest. I didn't have $12,000 to spare, but he was my son. I took it from what I had saved, from my 401k, which I hadn't touched yet. I transferred it to his account on a Saturday morning. Emily texted me that same day. Carol, thank you so much. You're incredibly generous. We'll never forget this. 3 months went by, then 6. I never saw that money again. Whenever I brought it up, Mike changed the subject. We'll figure that out later, Mom. Now's not a good time. It was last month when he showed up at my house with a man I'd never seen before. Tall, thin, glasses, serious face. Mom, this is Maurice, a friend from work. I wanted to introduce him to you. I thought it was strange. Mike never brought friends over, but I pretended everything was normal, offered them coffee, cake, sat with them in the living room. That Morris guy started asking me questions. Lots of questions. How long have you been living alone? And your health? How is it? Do you take many medications? Forget things often? I answered politely. But deep down, I was uneasy. That wasn't how someone made conversation. That was how someone interrogated you. Mike stayed quiet the whole time, just watching. When Morris left, I asked, "Weird friend, huh? Is he always like that?" Mike gave an awkward smile. Maurice is a bit shy. But he's a good guy. Good guy, sure. After that day, Mike started talking more and more about how I needed help, about how I shouldn't live alone forever, about how there were qualified people who could take better care of me. I didn't pay much attention. Thought it was just exaggerated concern from a son. Until last week, while I was at the salon getting my hair cut, Emily and Megan went into my house. I know because my neighbor, Mrs. Martin, told me later. "Carol, it was strange. Your daughter-in-law was there with another young woman. They had a key. I got worried. Thought you'd given them permission." A key. She'd made a copy of my key. When I got home, everything had been gone through. Not obviously. But I know my house. I know where everything is. Drawers I always keep closed were open. Papers that were always in a certain order were scattered. My document folder had been moved. They were looking for something. And they didn't even bother to hide it well. I called Mike right away. "Son, someone broke into my house. They went through my stuff." He took a while to answer. "Mom, nobody broke in. You probably just forgot you did it and don't remember." Again, the same story, that I didn't remember, that I was confused. "Mike, I know what I saw. Mom, you need to stop this. You're becoming paranoid." Paranoid. He called me paranoid. I hung up, sat on the couch, stared at my ransacked home, and that was the moment I decided to install cameras. Small ones, hidden, 2 in the living room, 1 in the hallway, 1 in the kitchen. Cost me about $600 total. I installed them myself, learned how through YouTube videos, connected them to my phone. I was going to find out what was happening. I just didn't know I'd discover much more than I imagined. 2 days later, Monday afternoon, I saw Emily's phone on my couch and read the messages and understood everything, every lie, every manipulation, every piece of that horrible puzzle. They weren't worried about me. They were setting the stage, building a narrative, creating fake evidence that I was incompetent, that I needed to be committed. And that man, Maurice, he wasn't Mike's friend. He was a psychiatrist they'd hired, $800 per consultation, to write a fake diagnosis, to sign the papers, to lock me away somewhere I might never come back from. And for what? For $327,000. That was the price of my freedom. My dignity, my life. It was 6:40 in the morning on Tuesday when I heard the doorbell. Sarah, punctual as always. I opened the door and she hugged me without saying a word. Just hugged me. I think she saw on my face that it was serious. Very serious. We went inside. I served the coffee I'd made. Cornbread cake I'd baked in the middle of the night because I couldn't sleep anyway. We sat at the kitchen table. The same table where I'd sat so many times with Mike when he was little. Doing homework, talking about his day, laughing. Sarah took her cup and looked straight into my eyes. "Tell me everything, Carol, from the beginning." And I did. I showed her the photos I'd taken of the messages. Every single one. She read in silence. Her expression changed with each message, from worried to shocked to furious. When she finished reading, she put the phone on the table and took a deep breath. "Carol, this is criminal. Multiple crimes, fraud, attempted unlawful confinement. Identity falsification. That psychiatrist will lose his license if we can prove he's involved." I took a sip of coffee. It was cold by then. "Sarah, I have 3 days. Just 3. She glanced at the clock. "Today's Tuesday. The commitment is Thursday, 2 p.m.? I nodded. "Then we've got a little over 48 hours to set everything up, but it's doable." She pulled a notepad and pen from her purse, started writing. Fast. "First thing. We need an official psychiatric report, proving you're completely healthy. There's a doctor I know, Dr. Henry, highly respected psychiatrist. His evaluation carries weight in any court. I'll call him now and get you an appointment today." She dialed, spoke softly, negotiated, insisted. After 5 minutes, she hung up. "Got it. 6 p.m. today. His office. It'll cost $1,500. Full evaluation. Cognitive tests, interview, everything. $1,500. Expensive. But I had it. And it was worth every cent. All right, I'll go." Sarah went back to writing. "Second thing, we need to protect your assets, immediately. Does your son have power of attorney?" "No." "Access to your accounts?" "No. He just knows my card PIN for emergencies." "Change it. Today. Now. As soon as I leave, you go to the bank and change all your passwords. Block any transaction that can happen without you being physically present. Got it?" "Got it. I memorized it." "Third thing, we need hard evidence." "Those photos of the messages are good, but they could claim they're fake." "Do you have her phone?" "No. She took it. I only managed to take pictures." Sarah thought for a few seconds. "All right. The photos help, but more would be better." "You said you installed cameras?" "I did. 2 in the living room, 1 in the hallway, 1 in the kitchen." "Perfect. Keep them on. If they come back, we record everything. That'll be useful." She kept writing. She looked like a general planning a war strategy. And maybe that's exactly what it was. A war. Me against my own family. "Fourth thing, we need to alert the police, but not yet. If we go now, they'll investigate. But slowly. Bureaucracy, red tape. By the time they act, you'll already be committed. So we do it differently. We wait. Let them come here on Thursday. Let them incriminate themselves completely, and then we strike." I felt a chill run through me. "You want me to let them come? Pretend I don't know anything?" "Exactly. We prepare everything. The police will be on standby. When they arrive with the papers, the doctor, everything, we catch them in the act, red-handed. That's the strongest evidence there is. They won't be able to deny it or make excuses." I went silent, thinking. It was risky, very risky. What if something went wrong? What if the police didn't arrive in time? What if I actually ended up being committed? Sarah held my hand. "Carol, I know it's scary, but it's the best chance we've got. I know a detective, Carla, specializes in crimes against seniors. She'll come personally, with a team. It won't go wrong. I promise." I wanted to believe her, needed to. "And if Mike finds out I know? If he suspects something?" "Then you act. You're a better actress than you think. Pretend everything's normal. Act like you always do. Let them think you're the confused old lady they made up. Let them feel safe, confident. And Thursday, we turn the tables." I stood up, went to the window. The sun was rising. A beautiful day, blue sky, birds singing, as if nothing was wrong. But everything was. My son, my only son, the boy I carried in my arms, fed, clothed, taught to walk, to talk, to write. That boy now wanted to lock me away, take everything from me, my home, my savings, my freedom. And for what? To open a fancy coffee shop with his wife. $327,000. That's what my life was worth to them. I turned to Sarah. "All right, we'll do it your way. But I want one thing." "What's that?" "I want to look them in the eyes. When the police get here, I want them to know, to see, to understand that I was the one who set this up, that I'm not the foolish old woman they thought I was." Sarah smiled, a small, sad smile. But she smiled. "Don't worry, they'll know." Sarah left at 8 o'clock. I showered, got dressed, and by 9:15, I was at the bank. The manager, Mr. Olson, had known me for years. I'd always been a reliable customer. Never caused problems. Paid every mortgage payment for Mike's apartment on time. Every single one. He greeted me with his usual smile. "Good morning, Mrs. Carroll. How can I help you today? I sat down across from him, took a deep breath. Mr. Olson, I need to lock my account. I want to make sure nobody can transfer or withdraw anything without me being here, in person, with ID. He frowned. Are you having any problems? I'm preventing one. Please, I need this today. He didn't ask more questions. He saw in my face it was serious. Typed a few things on his computer, printed some papers. You'll need to sign here, here, and here. From now on, any transaction above $100 requires in-person confirmation. No more through the app or by phone, only in person. I signed everything, and I want to change all my passwords, debit card, online banking, everything. It took about 20 minutes, but when I walked out of there, I knew my money was safe. No one was taking a cent from me without my permission. In person, face to face. I went back home. Emily had sent a message at 10 a.m. Carol, can we stop by this afternoon? I wanted to bring you some sweets. Sweets? How thoughtful. I replied, of course, dear. I'll be home. I had to act normal, like I didn't know a thing, like I was still the naive old lady who believed everything. I spent the afternoon tidying up the house, cleaning, organizing, but also checking the cameras, adjusting the angles, testing the recording on my phone, everything working perfectly. Mike and Emily arrived at 4 p.m. She was holding a box of truffles. He had that awkward smile again. They came in, sat on the couch, exactly where I wanted them, right in the camera's view, hidden behind the wall painting. I served coffee, chatted about small things, the weather, the traffic, a TV show. Emily kept watching me, with that look, searching for something, some sign. Some confirmation that I was getting worse. So I gave her what she wanted. I forgot the actress's name on purpose. What's her name again? Oh, I can't remember. Emily looked at Mike, smiled. He avoided my eyes again. Always did. At 6 p.m., they left. I had my appointment, took a cab and went to Dr. Henry's office. He was about 60, gray hair, thin-rimmed glasses, calm voice. Received me himself. No secretary, no assistant. Total privacy. Sarah had explained everything to him. He knew what was at stake. I sat in a comfortable armchair. He sat across from me. Mrs. Carroll, I'll conduct a full evaluation. We'll talk. I'll ask some questions about memory, reasoning, time, and spatial orientation. It'll take about 2 hours. Don't worry, you're not being judged. I just need to confirm the truth. We started. He asked questions. Lots of them. Date, president's name, full address, phone numbers, birth dates. I answered everything, without hesitation, without mistakes. Then came the memory tests. He said a list of words. I repeated them, in the right order. He showed me images. I described them. He gave me simple calculations. I solved them. I drew a clock, marked the right time. Everything perfect. Then we talked about my life, my work, my 15 years at the courthouse. He seemed interested. You worked with legal documents? I did. Records, certificates, case files. I learned a lot about the law, about rights, about how the system works. He took notes. We kept talking about Walter, about Mike, about everything. At 8 o'clock, he finished, printed out a 3-page report, handed it to me. Mrs. Carroll, you have full mental capacity, excellent memory, logical reasoning intact, perfect time and spatial orientation. There is absolutely no sign of dementia, confusion, or cognitive decline. On the contrary, you're above average for your age group. This report will be attached to my professional record. Any challenge will have to go through me. And I have 32 years of flawless practice. I held the document in my hands. It was my shield, my protection, my proof. Thank you, doctor. No need to thank me. I can't stand people who take advantage of the elderly, truly can't. If you ever need me, I'll be available. I left with the report in my purse, guarded like gold, because it was. I took a cab home. It was almost 10 p.m. I was tired, but it was a good kind of tired. The kind you feel when you're doing something. When you're no longer just standing still, taking the hits. I called Sarah. I got the report. Perfect. I'll swing by in the morning to pick it up. I'll take it to Detective Carla. I've already talked to her. She's fully briefed. Thursday, 2 p.m. She'll be here. With 2 officers. They'll arrive with the commitment crew but stay out of sight waiting for my signal. When I give it, they'll come in. Got it? I got it. Everything was starting to make sense, to fall into place. Wednesday crawled by. In the morning, Sarah picked up the report. In the afternoon, I pretended everything was normal. Watched TV, cooked, baked a cake. Emily texted to ask if I was okay. I said yes. She said she'd stop by tomorrow. Tomorrow, Thursday, the day. I replied, "Come by, dear. I'll be here." And I would. I'd be here. Waiting, prepared, armed. Not with a gun, but with something far stronger. The truth. The law. And 67 years of life experience that had taught me one thing. Nobody takes me down without a fight. At night, I reviewed everything. Cameras working, the report safely stored, phone charged with the message screenshots, Sarah's and Detective Carla's contacts saved. Everything ready. I slept better that night, better than I had in months, because I knew that the next morning everything would change, forever. And for the first time since reading those messages, I didn't feel fear. I felt anger, but I also felt something I didn't expect. Power, real power, the power of knowing what the other side doesn't, the power of being 10 steps ahead, the power of not being a victim, of being a strategist. Thursday dawned. At 7 a.m., Sarah called. "Carol, everything's set. Detective Carla and the team will arrive at 1:45 p.m. They'll wait in an unmarked car on your street. When the clinic's crew shows up, you call me. I'll give the signal. They go in. Simple as that." And if something goes wrong? It won't. Trust me. I trusted her. I had no choice. At 10, I started setting the scene. Put on an old flannel robe, the kind I wore when I had a cold, messed up my hair, took off my makeup, looked in the mirror. I looked tired, confused, exactly how they wanted me to look. Perfect. At 1:30 p.m., I saw the unmarked car pull up at the corner. Discreet, dark, tinted windows. At 1:50 p.m., I heard cars stopping in front of my house. I peeked through the window. 3 vehicles, Mike's, a black sedan, and a white van with a behavioral health logo. My heart started pounding. This was it, the moment. I took a deep breath, adjusted the robe, ruffled my hair a bit more, and went to open the door. I opened the door slowly, put on a confused face, like I'd just woken up from a nap and didn't quite know what was going on. Emily came in first, a huge smile on her face. That fake smile I knew so well. Behind her came Mike, eyes down, hands in his pockets. And then him, Dr. Maurice, the psychiatrist, with a black briefcase under his arm and the look of someone doing me a favor. And last, 2 men in white uniforms, badges from St. Clair Behavioral Health hanging around their necks. Orderlies, or whatever they were. They all walked in, into my living room, as if it were their house. "Carol, how are you feeling?" Emily spoke loudly, as if I were deaf or slow. I kept my lost expression. "Emily, what are you doing here? What time is it?" She glanced at Mike, that look of, "See, told you so." Mike didn't look back. He looked at the floor, the couch, anywhere but at me. "Mom, it's 2 o'clock. You forgot we were coming today?" Forgot? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Emily helped me sit on the couch, with that exaggerated gentleness. Fake. "Easy, Carol. We're here to take care of you. Look, we even brought a doctor to talk to you. This is Dr. Maurice. Remember him? He's been here before. Dr. Maurice sat across from me, in the armchair, opened his briefcase, took out some papers, a pen, a stethoscope he wasn't even going to use, just for show, to look professional. Mrs. Carroll, good to see you again. How have you been? I stared at him with empty eyes. Fine. I think fine. I don't know. He jotted something down. Have you been feeling confused lately? Sometimes. I don't know. I forget things. More notes. Emily was behind me. I heard her whisper to Mike. See? Worse than I said. Mike didn't answer. His silence said it all. Guilt. He knew it was wrong, but he didn't have the courage to stop. Dr. Maurice went on. He asked questions. What day is it? Where do you live? Who's the president? I answered everything wrong, on purpose, mixed up dates, made up an address, said the president was someone else. He wrote it all down. With the satisfaction of a man building a case, a false one. But he didn't know that. Had no idea. After 15 minutes of theater, he put the papers away, looked at Emily and Mike. Unfortunately, the cognitive deterioration has worsened. Mrs. Carroll shows clear signs of advanced senile dementia, temporal and spatial disorientation, mental confusion, loss of recent memory. It's my medical opinion that she can no longer live alone. She needs specialized care, immediately. Emily put a hand to her chest, playing it up. Oh, doctor, we suspected as much. But hearing it is so hard. Hard. She was enjoying every second. Dr. Maurice opened the briefcase again, pulled out a document, several pages. I've completed the request for involuntary commitment. Under state mental health law, when a patient lacks insight into their condition, the family can request admission for the patient's own protection. As a psychiatrist, I evaluated her and agree this is the case. I just need the family to sign here authorizing it. He placed the paper in front of Mike, held out a pen. Mike looked at the paper, then at me. I saw hesitation in his eyes. For a second, just one, I thought he might back down, that he might say no, that he might remember I was his mother, that I raised him, loved him, gave up everything for him. But Emily touched his shoulder, lightly, a tap, and that was enough. He took the pen and signed. My son had just signed my sentence. Emily signed next, quickly, without hesitation. Not a tremor in her hand. Dr. Maurice took the documents, signed at the bottom, stamped them. All right. From this moment, Mrs. Carroll is under the custody of St. Clair Behavioral Health. The orderlies will escort her to the vehicle. She'll receive all necessary care. The two men in white came closer, one on each side, firm, ready to carry me if needed. Emily already had her phone in hand, taking pictures, probably to post later. A hard day, but necessary. Sometimes love means making painful choices. I caught a glimpse of her screen. She was already typing the caption, already turning my tragedy into content, into engagement, into likes. I looked at the clock on the wall. 1:57 p.m., almost 2, almost time. I stood up from the couch, slowly, swayed a little. The orderlies held my arms. Easy, ma'am. We've got you. I took 2 steps toward the door, stopped, turned around, looked at all of them. At Dr. Maurice with his briefcase. At Emily with her phone. At Mike with his guilt. And I said, in a weak, trembling voice, I think we should wait for one more person. Silence. Emily frowned. One more person? Who, Carol? I didn't answer. I just looked at the door. Dr. Maurice grew impatient. Mrs. Carroll, no one else is coming. It's just you. We need to go now. No. Someone's coming. I'm sure of it. Emily looked at Mike. He shrugged. He was as lost as she was. Dr. Maurice checked his watch. Look, we can't wait around. There are protocols, schedules. Let's go, ma'am. 1:59 p.m., 1 minute left, 1 minute for everything to change. Please, just 1 more minute. Someone's going to arrive. Emily huffed, irritated. She wanted this over, wanted to see me inside that van, out of her life, clearing the path to the money, to the apartment, to her dream coffee shop. Dr. Maurice signaled to the orderlies. Let's take her. We can't keep waiting. They tightened their grip on my arms, pulled me toward the door. And then, 2 p.m. on the dot. The doorbell rang. Everyone stopped, looked at the door. Emily spoke first. Who is it? I smiled. For the first time since they'd arrived, I smiled. A real smile. It's the person I've been waiting for. Emily strode to the door, annoyed, grabbed the handle, opened it, and froze. Her expression changed in less than a second, from irritated to terrified, from confident to desperate, because on the other side of the door wasn't a family member, or a friend, or a neighbor. It was Detective Carla Mendez, uniform immaculate, badge on her chest, and behind her, 2 officers, in uniform, armed, stone-faced. The detective looked at Emily, then at Dr. Maurice, then at me, and said, voice firm, loud, official. Good afternoon. I'm Detective Carla Mendez, Elder Abuse Unit. We received a report of attempted forced commitment and fraud. Everyone stay where you are. That's when everything fell apart. Emily took a step back, then another. The color drained from her face. That artificial tan she kept turned into paste white, grayish. Dr. Maurice shot up from the armchair, fast, nervous. Detective, I believe there's been a misunderstanding. I'm a licensed psychiatrist. I'm simply doing my professional duty. Detective Carla stepped in. The 2 officers behind her closed the door. One of them took position in front of her. No one was leaving. A misunderstanding? We'll see. She looked at me. I was still in the robe, hair a mess. But the voice that came out of my mouth was no longer shaky, no longer the voice of a confused old woman. Detective, thank you for your punctuality. And then I did something none of them expected. I took off the robe, slowly. Underneath, I was dressed normally. Jeans, a button-up blouse, closed-toe shoes. I tossed the robe onto the couch, ran a hand through my hair, fixed it, straightened up, looked at every one of them, one by one, and I saw the exact moment they understood. The exact moment they realized they'd been duped, that I wasn't the helpless victim. I was the trap, and they'd walked right into it. Emily reacted first. Carol, what are you doing? Don't call me Carol, Emily. Not ever again. My voice came out cold, cutting. Sarah stepped in right behind the detective, my friend, my attorney, a folder stuffed with documents in her hands. She looked at me, gave a small nod. Everything was set, exactly as planned. Detective Carla, here's everything you asked for. Sarah opened the folder on the coffee table, laid out each document, one by one, like a chessboard, and we were delivering checkmate. First, a full psychiatric evaluation for Mrs. Carol Ann Sanders, issued by Dr. Henry Foster, board-certified psychiatrist with 32 years of practice. Evaluation conducted the day before yesterday. Conclusion, full mental capacity, excellent memory, logical reasoning intact. Perfect temporal and spatial orientation, no signs of dementia or any cognitive impairment. Sarah placed the document in front of Dr. Maurice. He looked at it, turned red, started to sweat. Second, screenshots of text messages between Ms. Emily Christine Allen and Ms. Megan Ferris, detailing a plan for forced commitment of the mother-in-law, with explicit mention of financial amounts: $280,000 from the house, $47,000 from her 401k. Total of $327,000. Stated objective, open a gourmet coffee shop. Emily tried to speak. That's a lie. Those messages are fake. Someone hacked my phone. Sarah didn't even look at her. She kept going. Third, video recordings. Mrs. Carroll installed hidden security cameras in her own home after noticing a privacy breach. The cameras captured unauthorized entry by Ms. Emily and Ms. Megan on April 24th. They used an unauthorized copy of the key. Were caught rummaging through the victim's personal documents, stealing confidential information. The detective took the phone Sarah offered, watched the videos. Her face grew harder by the second. She saw everything. Emily and Megan entering, searching, photographing documents, laughing, celebrating. Fourth, preliminary investigation into Dr. Maurice Cesar Pinto. It revealed 3 prior complaints filed with the State Medical Board, all involving fraudulent psychiatric evaluations used to force guardianships and seize seniors' assets. All were dismissed for lack of hard evidence, until now. Dr. Maurice tried to leave, took a step toward the door. The officer standing there blocked him. Firm. "You're not going anywhere." The detective looked at him with disgust, with anger. "Dr. Maurice Cesar Pinto, you're being detained for questioning on suspicion of falsifying records, engaging in fraudulent medical practice, and participating in an elder fraud scheme." He tried to argue. "I didn't know. The family deceived me. I only came to do an evaluation. An evaluation without properly interviewing the patient, without medical history, without tests, filling out commitment paperwork before you even got here. You'll explain that downtown." The 2 men in white tried to slip out, sliding along the wall, wanting to vanish. The detective pointed. "You 2 are staying as well. You'll give statements. I want to know exactly what you knew." One of them started to stammer. "We just work for the clinic. We take orders and follow them. We didn't know it was a scam." "You can explain that at the station, in writing." Mike stood there, frozen, watching it all like it was a movie, like it wasn't real. Like he hadn't just signed papers to commit his own mother, but it was real. Very real, and he was in the middle of it. Sarah continued, relentless. Fifth, and this is interesting. During a preliminary review of Ms. Emily's social media, we identified suspicious messages with a man named Brandon Hayes, a personal trainer. The messages are romantic, explicitly sexual in some cases. In one exchange dated April 22nd, Ms. Emily writes, "Once we get the old lady's money, we'll run away together. You, me, and a beach far from here." Brandon replies with fire and heart emojis. Mike turned to Emily, slowly, as if his neck weighed 100 pounds. "What?" His voice was a whisper. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. "Babe, it's not what you think. You're cheating on me?" "No, honey. He's just a friend. Just talking." "Just talking? You were going to run off with him, with my money, with my mother's money?" Sarah handed Mike the phone. Screenshots open. He read. 1 message. 2, 3. The more he read, the paler he got. His hands shook. "You never loved me. Never. It was always about the money." Emily tried to grab his hand. He recoiled, with disgust, with revulsion. "Don't touch me." The detective got everyone's attention. "Ms. Emily Christine Allen, you'll need to accompany me to the station to give a formal statement. You're under investigation for attempted fraud, unlawful entry, invasion of privacy, and participation in a scheme to misappropriate the assets of a vulnerable senior." Emily started to cry, dramatically, forced. "Detective, please. I have 180,000 followers on Instagram. I have a public image. This will destroy me. It was all a misunderstanding. I only wanted to take care of my mother-in-law." "Take care of her? By stealing her home? By locking her up against her will? Spare me." Emily tried another tactic. She looked at me, eyes brimming. "Carol, please. You won't do this to me. You love me. You always loved me." I took a step forward, stood face to face with her. I saw the tears, fake. I saw the fear, real. And I said, as calm as the ocean before a storm, I loved the daughter-in-law I thought you were, but that person never existed. You're an actress, and not even a good one. Because I found out everything, every lie, every manipulation, every second you spent pretending to love me while planning to destroy me. She tried to speak. I didn't let her. Do you know what hurts most? It's not the money. It's not the house. It's not even the attempt to lock me away. What hurts most is that you used my son. You turned my boy into a man who signs a paper to commit his own mother. And that, I will never forgive. I turned to Mike. He was crying. For real. Tears running, body shaking. Mom, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know about Brandon. I thought she loved you. I thought we were doing what was best for you. Mike, you signed that paper. I pointed at the document on the table. You looked at me, saw your mother, and you signed anyway. She convinced me you were sick, that it was to protect you. And the $12,000 you never paid back? Was that to protect me too? He didn't answer. There was no answer. The detective started organizing the exits. Dr. Maurice was cuffed. He protested, shouted, threatened to sue everyone. No one cared. The orderlies were released, but notified they'd have to testify. Emily was taken in, not in cuffs, but firmly escorted. She looked back, looked at me, not with anger, with fear, real fear. Because she knew she'd lost everything. The image, the followers, the plan, the money, the husband, everything. When everyone left, it was just me, Mike, and Sarah. Silence. A crushing silence. Heavy, painful. Mike stepped closer, tried to speak. I raised my hand. No, not today. I can't look at you right now. Mom, please. You chose her over me, Mike. You chose money over me. You chose convenience over me. Now you'll have to live with that. He left, head down, defeated, alone. Sarah hugged me. You did it, Carol. You turned the tables. I didn't answer. I just cried. Cried everything I'd been holding in, everything I'd pretended not to feel. Because yes, I had won, but victory had a bitter taste, because I'd lost my son in the process, and that no justice could fix. Sarah stayed another hour, made me tea, sat beside me on the couch, didn't say much, just stayed. Presence. That's what I needed. Presence. When she left, it was nearly 5 p.m. The house was quiet. That kind of quiet that feels like it's going to swallow you whole. I went to the kitchen, washed the cups, straightened the table. Put away the papers Sarah had spread out. I needed to do something with my hands, needed to move. Otherwise, I'd fall apart. I heard a key in the door. My heart jumped. Only one person had a key. Mike walked in slowly, as if he were afraid of making noise, afraid of scaring me. He looked different, eyes swollen, red, clothes wrinkled, hair a mess. He looked like he'd aged 10 years in an afternoon. He stood there at the living room entrance, not knowing what to do, what to say. I stayed in the kitchen, drying cups, one by one, slowly. Mom. His voice was hoarse, broken. I didn't answer, kept drying. Mom, please, we need to talk. I put the cups away, folded the dish towel, set it down. Only then did I turn to him. Talk? Now you want to talk? After everything? He took a step forward. Hesitant. I need to explain. I need you to understand. Understand what, Mike? That you tried to commit me against my will? That you were going to sell my house? That you were going to steal my money? What exactly do I need to understand? He started crying. Again. The kind of cry that comes from the gut, from someone who knows he's lost everything and doesn't know how to get it back. She manipulated me, Mom. Emily. She made me believe you were sick, that it was dangerous for you to live alone. She made up the stories, the episodes. I believed her. I trusted her. I dropped the towel in the sink, went to the living room, sat on the couch, looked at him. "Mike, sit down." I pointed to the armchair across from me. He sat, small, shrunken, like a child who knows he's done wrong. "You want me to believe you were manipulated? That you're the victim here?" "I was, Mom, I swear." "Liar. You weren't manipulated. You were convenient. You chose to believe her lies because it was easier than questioning them. Because it gave you an excuse to do what you already wanted to do." He shook his head. "No, that's not true." "Isn't it? Then explain the $12,000 you borrowed and never repaid. Did Emily force you to ask? Did she manipulate you into that too?" Silence. He had no answer. "Explain the mortgage payments you promised to cover and never did. I paid them. Alone. For 8 months, $1,200 every month. You knew. You saw. But you never said anything. Never offered help. Never said thank you. Did Emily manipulate you into being ungrateful too?" He lowered his head. "Mom, I didn't think. I thought that—" "You didn't think? Mike, you're 30. You're not a child. You're a grown man, with a job, with responsibilities. Did you not think, or did you not want to think?" I stood up, went to the bedroom, took out 2 envelopes I'd kept in the drawer, came back, placed both on the coffee table, in front of him. "Open the first." He picked it up, opened it. Pulled out the papers, started reading, went pale. This is your will?" "It was, the old one, from 5 years ago." Read what it says. He read aloud, struggling. "I leave all my assets, property, and funds to my only son, Michael Sanders, without restrictions." He put the papers back, looked at me, afraid. "Now open the second." He hesitated, looked at the envelope like it was a bomb, took it carefully, opened it, read. And the last bit of color drained from his face. "Mom, what is this?" "It's my new will. I made it yesterday. It's filed, official. Read it aloud. I want you to hear what you did to us." He began to read, voice shaking. "I bequeath 70% of my estate to the Institute for the Protection and Defense of Seniors, so others won't go through what I did, so other mothers aren't betrayed by their own children. The remaining 30% will be held in trust for 2 years. If my son, Michael, proves, through concrete actions, not words, that he has changed, understood, and become the man I raised him to be, then he will receive that share. If not, it will go to the same institute." Mike dropped the paper, covered his face with his hands. Sobs, the kind that tear you open. "Mom, please, don't do this. I'm your son." "I know you're my son, Mike, but a son isn't just who's born from you. A son is who honors you, who respects you, who protects you when you're vulnerable. You did none of that. You signed my sentence. Literally. You looked at me and signed." He rose from the armchair, knelt in front of me, tried to take my hands. I pulled back. "Mom, give me a chance. One chance to fix this. Please. I'm giving you a chance. 2 years, 76 weeks. That's how long you have to prove it to me, but not with words, not with promises, with action, with real change." "How? What do I do?" "That you need to figure out on your own. If I tell you, it won't count, because then you'll just be checking boxes, following orders. That's not what I want. I want you to understand, truly, deep down, what you did and who you became, and then, and only then, you'll know what to do to make it right." He stayed there, kneeling, crying, lost. Then he stood, slowly, as if he carried the world on his back, walked to the door, stopped, turned. "I love you, Mom." I didn't answer. Not because I didn't love him, but because love, in that moment, wasn't enough. He left, closed the door softly, and I stayed there, alone, in my home, with my victory and my grief. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat on the couch, staring at the wall, thinking about everything, about how I'd ended up here, about how my son had become a man I no longer recognized. The house was too quiet. It felt like even the walls knew something had broken. Something that might never be fully fixed, but I had done the right thing. I knew I had. Sometimes doing the right thing hurts. It hurts a lot. And that night, it hurt like never before. The days that followed were strange. Sarah called me every day, asked how I was, updated me on the case. Emily had been indicted, attempted fraud, unlawful entry, identity falsification. She'd answer in freedom, but had to check in monthly at the precinct. Sign in, prove she hadn't fled. Her Instagram blew up, but not the way she wanted. Someone leaked the story. I don't know who. Maybe Megan, maybe Brenda, maybe someone at the station. Doesn't matter. It went viral. 180,000 followers became 150, then 120, then 80. The brands canceled their deals. The partnerships vanished. Her influencer dream collapsed with everything else. Dr. Maurice had it worse. The state medical board opened proceedings, license revocation. He tried to defend himself, said he'd been deceived, that he didn't know about the plan. But the 3 old complaints weighed against him, and the fact he'd filled out commitment forms before properly evaluating the patient. He lost everything: the license, the office, the reputation. I heard he tried to kill himself, took pills, but survived. He's hospitalized now. Ironically, truly hospitalized, in a psychiatric ward. Life's funny that way. Megan turned state's witness. Told them everything she knew, the chats, the plans, how Emily had put it all together, how she slowly convinced Mike, planting doubts, inventing episodes, building a false narrative. Megan cried at the precinct, said she was afraid of Emily, said she felt pressured. I don't know if I believe her. But she handed over everything: messages, voice notes, screenshots, everything the police needed. In exchange, she won't be charged. She'll testify. Brenda simply vanished. Deactivated her social media, changed her number. No one's heard from her. They say she went back to her parents' place out in the country, far from everything, far from the scandal. And Mike, my son, he filed for divorce in the 2nd week. Emily didn't contest it. There was nothing left to gain by staying married to him. Without my money, he was no use to her. Simple as that. He moved out of the apartment, the one I paid for, the one I financed alone for 8 months. He could have stayed. The deed was in my name anyway. But he didn't want to. Said he couldn't be there. That everything reminded him of her. The lies, the betrayal. Brandon, the personal trainer who was going to run off with her on stolen money. Mike rented a studio, small, simple, about $900 a month, close to his job. He started therapy, twice a week, $150 a session, out of his paycheck, out of his own pocket. He started visiting me every Thursday, 6 p.m. He knocked, polite, waited for me to open, came in, sat down, we had coffee, talked about small things, the weather, work, nothing deep, nothing that hurt. He didn't try to hug me, didn't try to explain himself again. He just sat there, half an hour, sometimes 40 minutes, then left. "See you next week, Mom." And I answered, "See you, that's all." In the 3rd week, he handed me an envelope, cash, $1,000. "It's part of the $12,000 I owe you, Mom. I'll pay it all back." In installments. But I will pay. I didn't say anything. I just took the envelope, put it away. It wasn't about the money. It never was. But it was a start, a small start. The apartment stayed in my name. I could have taken it back, sold it, used the money. But I didn't. I left it, in his name, as the tenant. He knew. He knew the only reason he hadn't lost it was my mercy. my leniency, not justice. Because justice would have taken everything from him. And maybe he deserved that. But I couldn't do it. I couldn't take everything away. Because deep down, way down, he was still my son. And mothers don't give up on their children, even when a child gives up on his mother. 6 months went by, 6 months that felt like 6 years. A lot changed. I changed. Sarah came to see me on one of those hard days, about 2 months after everything. She arrived with a proposal. Carol, we need to turn this pain into something bigger. We need to help other people going through what you went through. How many Carols are out there, being robbed, manipulated, committed against their will, losing everything to family, the very people who should protect them? I'd thought about that, a lot, alone, at night. When the quiet in the house got too heavy, we decided to create the Safe Home Project, free legal guidance for seniors who are victims of family abuse, financial exploitation, psychological manipulation, forced commitment. Every crime they tried to commit against me, I invested $10,000 from my savings. Sarah provided her firm's infrastructure, 2 offices, 2 law clerks, walk-ins every Tuesday and Thursday, 9 to 5. In 3 months, we'd handled 47 cases, 47 Carols. Some we saved in time, others we didn't. But all of them left knowing they weren't alone, that they had rights, that they could fight. I started giving talks, small ones at first, at the neighborhood association, at the seniors group. Then they grew. The Department of Social Services called, wanted me to speak at larger events about autonomy in older age, about recognizing signs of abuse, about how to protect yourself. Me, the woman who'd spent her life quiet, obedient, was now up there, in front of 100, 200 people, telling my story, without shame, without fear. Because if my pain could save someone, then it was worth exposing it. It was at one of those talks that I saw him, Mike. At the back of the auditorium, leaning against the wall. He hadn't told me he was coming. I didn't know he was there. I only saw him at the end, when people came up to talk, to ask questions, to ask for advice. He waited, quiet, until everyone left, until it was just me, him, and the echo of that big, empty hall. I walked over, slowly. Mike, what are you doing here? He held an envelope, large, thick. I came to give you this, but before I do, I need you to see something. He pulled his phone from his pocket, opened a photo folder, showed me pictures of him, in places I didn't recognize, at a home, surrounded by seniors, some in wheelchairs, others with walkers. He was serving food, helping them up, talking, smiling. I've been volunteering at St. Vincent Home for the Aged, 5 months now, every Saturday and Sunday. 8 to 4, I serve breakfast, help with baths, take them outside for sun, talk to them, listen. Most were abandoned by family. Some were robbed, others were committed and forgotten there. He kept swiping through the photos. This is Mr. Almir, 73. His son sold his house, disappeared with the money, left him on the street. This is Ms. Yvonne, 81. Her granddaughter had her committed, diagnosed with dementia, but she had nothing. She was lucid. She was just in the way of the inheritance. He put the phone away, looked at me, straight into my eyes, for the first time in months. I understand now, Mom. I understand what I did, not because someone explained it, but because I saw it. I saw it in each of them. I saw you. I saw what I almost did, what I signed. And every day when I leave, I'm grateful. Grateful I got a second chance, that you gave me a second chance. Many of them didn't. He handed me the envelope. Open it. I opened it. Inside were certificates, a 40-hour course on financial exploitation of seniors, completed, a 30-hour course on seniors' rights, completed, a 50-hour course on care and respect in older age, completed, and underneath, a letter, handwritten, from the home's coordinator, recommending his volunteer work, speaking of dedication, respect, commitment. There were receipts too, 12 receipts for $1,000 each, adding up to the $12,000 he'd borrowed, all paid, all returned. I let the tears fall. I didn't try to stop them. "Mike!" My voice came out thick, broken. He cried too. "Mom, I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking you to forget. I'm just showing you that I understand, that I changed, that I'm not the man who signed that paper anymore." I took a step forward, another, and I hugged my son. Hugged him like I hadn't in months. He held me, tight, and cried on my shoulder, like he did when he was little, when he was scared, when he needed me. "You were my boy. You can still be my son. But it's different now. Do you understand?" He nodded, against my shoulder. "I understand. I know." We stayed like that. I don't know how long, holding each other, in silence, until I pulled back, framed his face in my hands, looked into his eyes. "I'm not changing the will now. The 2 years aren't over, but when they are, I'll reassess, based on what you've shown, on what you keep showing. Understood?" "Understood." He wiped his tears, smiled, small, shy, but real. "Can I keep coming on Thursdays?" "You can, but it doesn't have to be just half an hour anymore. You can stay for dinner. If you want." "I want." That night we had dinner together. For the first time in 6 months, light talk, about his job, about the home, about the talks. Nothing about her, nothing about the past. Just the now, and maybe the future. When he left, I stood on the porch, looking at the stars, thinking about everything, about how I'd gotten here, about how much I'd lost, about how much I'd gained. I'd lost my innocence, my blind trust. The naivete of believing family is sacred just because it's family. But I'd gained something bigger. I'd found my voice, my strength, my freedom. Freedom isn't what they gave back to me. Freedom is what I should never have had to fight for. And now, no one takes it from me. Not ever again. Because I learned. I learned that respect isn't requested, it's enforced. That dignity isn't negotiated, it's defended. And that true love doesn't diminish you, it makes you stronger. I am Carol. I'm 67 years old. And finally, after all this time, I know who I am. And no one, absolutely no one, is ever taking that from me again.